isolates the Kaid, able to go for one tap. It's gonna be another one tap for him. It's gonna be the ace.
Flies, he gets owned. He gets two. Are you kidding?
They know it is! Sentry through the wall! But they keep feeding him 1v1s! He almost finds all five! That's what RO32!
Did you hear me? Okay. Can she hear us? Hello?
Yeah, like I don't. Oh, okay. She know we're live.
Okay. Well, there we go. Sorry guys, just a little bit of errors, but we're being trolled by our own producers. For those of you who don't know who we are, I'm Sino. That's Chaka. Chaka, how are you feeling tonight, man? A little bit of an interesting start.
Yeah, I'm a little bit. You know what? I'm feeling really, really good. I'm excited to get into some collegiate R6. So, it's been a while since I've been able to cast something within the collegiate, and seeing the rise of collegiate more recently has kind of got me more in a mood to cast it more, especially seeing as like how advanced collegiate teams are nowadays.
I agree. I mean, what we've been seeing currently, collegiate has expanded so much to where it started. I mean, with EKU being able to participate from just regular online tournaments like CR6, and then being able to go compete in lands like Butler most recently, we get to see so many sides of teams and how they perform, if they crumble under the pressure of playing in front of the stage, or if they continue to prosper and play even better. For a team like McGill, they're starting to rise up through the Canadian Collegiate League. They get to show us what they have by being able to play on a little bit of a lesser stage. They don't get to go travel to lands as often, but still, they get to play in a league. They get to show us what they have, and for them, it hasn't been the greatest of starts. It's been a little bit of a rocky start, actually, but still, they're able to really show us what they have in store for us, and I feel like a playoff game today is the most important thing of all, Chaka.
Yeah, I know it feels like when I think about both of these teams, especially with the information that we were given away beforehand, is the fact that like EKU is consistently going on the up and up, and McGill maybe feels a little bit more stagnant. Like, while in the regular season for Collegiate R6, they seem to be a little bit, I guess, a little bit more solid. You compare it to like their more recent results in CCL, and it's not as good. Like, they only have one win and it's in overtime, and the rest of their results are just like full on regulation losses. So it doesn't really seem like they're really improving that much to EKU, who, like, it's not even just within Collegiate R6 where they're shown to be improving. It's also like through the Butler land, like you mentioned, they got all the way to the grand finals and only lost to Akron, who are currently in E6 playoffs. Like, they're consistently getting better.
As well, if we mention how they performed in Butler, they got to the finals where they got to perform against a team like Akron. I mean, obviously they got destroyed in the finals, but that is just because a team of Tier 2 caliber is just going to be one of those guys who get to absolutely run through your players. But still, the fact that they got to those playoffs, they got to those finals, and they showed us that they're resilient, whether it's in the BO2 round robin, the BO1 early stages of elimination, and then the BO3s from the quarterfinals all the way to the grand finals, really shows us who and what type of play we are expecting today. But without further being said, let's go on into the rosters. The first team on the coin is going to be EKU. First on the board, we are going to have Sin, Borger, Jacob, Architect, and Lomo. I mean, in-game, you're going to see a little bit of a spoiler. They're going to have .NL in their names. That's just because they've gotten picked up by a team called Neon Light, so they get to compete in collegiate and in regular seasons as well. On the second roster, you are going to have McGill. First, you will have Joyous, Berger, Esquire, Ninth, and Kaikea. It is going to be an interesting game, and I'm very excited to see what these players bring to the board.
Yeah, and I'm also interested. I don't have much viewing experience on either team. Like, I guess more recently I have watched EKU. For McGill, I haven't watched any of their games in CCL. I can only really look at the results. So it'd be nice to see them in action today, because it'll just be nice to have some live gameplay, some live film to go off of compared to just looking at the results. Because you can only really look at what's been given in front of you. And while I can only really judge based off of how poorly they've done in CCL, I don't know how they'll perform today against EKU, who I can only say based off of their results during Butler are most likely the favorites. It's not even just through Butler; it's also through like their regular season through collegiate, where they won, where they were qualified through first, and they actually got a bye through playoffs to kind of start where they are right now. Whereas McGill got a bye in their first round technically because they had that forfeit. So yeah, it'll be very interesting going into today.
I'm kind of excited to see how it lines up, though, because I know we've talked, or I got to talk to EKU's roster when I went to Butler, and they were talking about all of the positive mindsets that they were going to bring. They were more concerned about the mental aspect of the game rather than the physical. And if I'm not mistaken, they actually do have a coach as well. So being able to have that coach's voice, being able to play on that mental side of the game, it really contributes to your overall ability to bring to the Siege experience and to your roster to be able to get yourself on the board, start out the BO3 right out the gate with your foot on the gas here. And honestly, what better to say than the map bans? Where are we going? Which venues are we going to be playing to see the teams battle it out? And with Layer, we are going to see EKU's pick with McGill defending. Now, going on to the second map, it will be Border, which will be McGill's pick. On the flip side, EKU will be attacking, and if we need all three maps, we will be going on to Chalet. So we get to challenge out all of these venues in their size, with Layer and Chalet being quite large, and then Border being that small map. So teams are going to be tested with their 1v1 ability, with their utility ability, and their ability to play as a corresponding cohesive team.
Yeah, also I think these maps are quite interesting. Like the only map that has been played more than once, or actually the only two maps that we have in our best of three present tonight is going to be Border and Chalet, and that's been played at least more than 5 times, or at least 5 times by McGill. Lair has only been played twice by EKU, and then for McGill, they've only played it once and they've lost it. So Lair feels like, to me, at least when I'm going off based off of the statistics of this year for both teams, it feels like that unknown. I don't know what we'll get going into Lair, but I think that unknown is what's making me very excited because I don't know, like I always like to like go into games not expecting much or not having much information on either team, and if either team like goes into a map that they barely play, we can only hope for some like really exciting stuff, because there has to be a reason why they haven't played it and why they only brought it up for in this game tonight.
A little bit of a shout out to DJ TJ for giving us a little bit of an information nugget. Upcoming on the weekend, we will have a collegiate LAN. Again, yeah, I know, very soon after Butler. We'll have the Passion Series, if I'm not mistaken. That is in Athens, West Virginia. And we've been notified that EKU is actually going to be playing from their facility, which means it might be even more one-sided than I was originally anticipating, Chaka, because you can sit right next to your teammates. You can communicate whatever you want. You can watch their screens. You can communicate. You can get head-to-head. You can literally be in the same room when you guys need to coordinate. And the overall experience of playing at a LAN with no pressure on stage, nobody in the crowd, nobody in the stands, is you just have the full experience. You're all on the same ping. There's no latency with the comms. It is just beautiful. Factor in that EKU is a team that are some heavy hitters. They always come out of their group stages and their playoffs with their foot on the gas against a team like McGill, where they take a little bit longer to get to the punch. I feel like it's going to be a very one-sided approach, especially if Layer is our first venue.
Yeah, and even if EKU don't like end up winning Lair, they're also pretty decent at Chalet from what I've gathered. Or it's not even just Chalet, they're also they haven't played Border, so that's going to be another unknown for EKU. But if we get to Chalet, they're heavily favored on it. McGill has played Chalet a total of 7 times, as it's been recorded by Wikipedia, and they've only won it once. So they have like 6 losses on this map. I think that's a 10% win rate. Like it's not really the best for McGill. So I guess for them, just because of the limited amount of playtime that EKU has recorded on both Lair and Border, you're hoping that if you're McGill, you can get it done in 2, just because they've given you the opportunity to go on maps that they don't really ever play.
Agreed. And I feel like, though, with EKU's response to that is their ability to build up a snowball effect. is the best way that you can say it, because from their games in person to watching them before on VODs, something that I've realized is they're very good at snowballing, Chaka. Like, if they come out the gate with 2 rounds, hiss goodbye any form of comeback unless they are throwing the rounds on purpose. They're very good to getting to the punch, getting to that execute, and playing on their win factors very fast. I mean, they won 7-1 against TTU. They started on the attack, and they won 5 of those attacks on bank at 7 a.m. in the morning with little to no warm-up in a LAN. That is a crazy stat line under crazy conditions, and they showed us that they were here to perform. They have gotten 7-4 and 7-1 wins multiple times. They have some situational losses where they cannot play. For instance, I mean, they've lost 3 and 7 on the grand finals against Akron on Chalet, and then they lost 0-7 on Bank, so you can look at the flip side of the coin. But still, you're comparing the Tier 2 warlords of Collegiate compared to the teams like McGill, where they don't have the privilege of being able to scrim, practice, have a coach, and have a set tactic when you're coming into things like BO3s in a playoff series. So there's so many different demanding factors, and I feel like EKU being able to have these maps studied out, to be able to have a snowball effect, and especially have a good dedicated IGL is just going to be very, very crucial to their overall ability to contribute to the game.
Yeah, and I can't really stress enough how I feel like, at least for the decider, EKU have won the map veto phase just because of how like really abhorrent like McGill's record is on Chalet, for example. Like they had a choice. It wasn't even they had a choice between Bank and Chalet. And ultimately, it's a lose-lose for McGill in that situation because for them, they don't have a positive record on winning on Bank neither. I highlighted the fact that, yeah, Chalet, they have a 1-6 record on. On Bank, they have an 0-4 record on it. And EKU just banned out Clubhouse in between the final 3 maps. That's the map that I believe McGill has the only winning record on for this year. It's like they're 5-3 on it. So for EKU, yeah, you may not have as many statistics for like Lair and Border recorded, but at least for Chalet, you can tell that they are firm favorites for it if we ever go to Chalet.
You see how they already started off with the banter in the all chat? There's 2 burgers, if I'm not mistaken. There's Borger and there's Burger. So, Chaka, who do you think is going to be the better burger tonight?
The one that spelled burger correctly.
Already hating it.
No, what do you mean? Hello?
I mean, I'm excited to see what the burgers bring to us. And, I mean, what better way to do that than starting off on a layer map? I feel like layers were just one of those maps where everything is challenging. There's no set way to win. And what I mean by that is anything can happen. If your attacks aren't perfect, if your defenses aren't perfect, the other team's going to find that gap and hit it until there's no opportunity left. And that is what I want to see from either side. McGill have been gifted this golden nugget. See what I did there? To be able to defend first on this map. They need to be able to use it to their ability to build out these rounds.
Yeah, Lair for me is very similar to maps like Clubhouse and Labs, where it's very step by step. It's a lot more basic than people made it out to be. Like when it first came out into the competitive map pool, a lot of people thought because of how big Lair was and how intimidating it looked from the outside that it would be this heavily complex map, but it gets a lot less intimidating once you explore the inside of it. And for me, when people started to figure Lair out, it became more like a Clubhouse. People have set defaults in this map. Like right now, what we're seeing Jacob doing, he's taking down below. He's going to establish vert. He may just clear off positions like mask and also behind the desk so that it sets EKU up for a mask plant later on in the round.
Now, Jacob going downstairs to try to establish this verticality, to be able to floor bang, use his death marks, and make the most out of them. While that happens, they're going to be opening up the breaches here, getting themselves set up on the map to be able to try to get into this building, minimizing that risk while opening up maximum opportunity to get a kill within the first 2 minutes of the round.
Yeah, it looks like for the most part, McGill has been very lenient in giving over a bunch of map control. They have layers to play behind, to be fair. Azami behind the mask desk. And you know, that's really about it. You still have a bunch of zombie barriers that you can play behind. So even if they destroy one EKU and they're taking their time getting to mask, you still have a bunch that you could lay down. And it's not like EKU have a ton of utility in order to fully break these zombie barriers instantly.
Just 90 seconds left on the clock here, as they're really trying to be able to hold out the site. They're losing the utility grip onto site here. Ace is being able to get into the mez hall, be able to establish all of this real estate here with just one man who was trying to sit on that front desk. It was essential that he stayed up, but he did not. Picked off. That's the first kill of the series here, and with the Aurora barricades coming out, it is going to be easy and more accessible to be able to just walk through that breach with little to no risk from that cross coming in from the 90 hall.
Yeah, easy map control established from EKU. I highlighted the Cuba barriers could have been a real big issue for them. And so far, that's not the case. They use Aurora gates as well to establish full mezzanine control, and they have a player in the bathroom. At some point, McGill has to power on either mezzanine or bathroom, and they try to do that, but they get dealt with in the process. This is setting up for EKU to have a very solid first round.
McGill, they got a kill, but after what? It's on a trade condition, meaning you're just going to have nobody to be able to assist ninth. It's just going to be himself, and an SMG-12 here. The attackers are circling like sharks. The main objective, get Burger into the site, put the plant down, and guard him with your life. With all of them near 100 HP, it's going to be very easy to be able to shut him out, and a 3K is going to give Lomo and his team the first on the board.
Yeah, almost felt like that round was way too easy for EKU. The only really big issue that they had was dealing with the desk players who did some initial damage early on in that round. Besides that, they were just able to get like map control really easily. A player is able to sit in bathroom for like a majority of that round, meaning that nobody from McGill can really aggress onto mezzanine from the bathroom hallway. And even if they wanted to aggress on mezzanine at all, like you have like full mezzanine control anyways. There was no mid-round power from McGill there to take back any real map control, and EKU just prospered very early on in the round.
I hope we see something from McGill that doesn't allow them to get steamrolled. I mean, the great thing of a BO3 is you have multiple opportunities and multiple chances to give yourself that fighting chance. We do see teams win the first map, they steamroll a team, and then they kind of fall off. So instead of having linear momentum that builds up, they kind of burn out, and by the second map, the team that's down continues to just build up slowly and force that map through. They can eventually take the win. I hope that is what we're seeing from McGill, but I also hope that they're able to show us some substance on layer, because we're only one round in. You guys need to be able to capitalize on all of the operators, all of the sites that you're gifted. I mean, Castle on a mid-floor site with no shields to have to deal with. This is a gift sent down. You guys have to be able to capitalize and get yourselves on the board.
Yeah, also, like, EKU, they did ban out the only two Hard Breach now, but you still have other operators on the board that can play into some pretty gnarly late-round win conditions. You have Goyo Smoke, you have Fenrir, you have Warden, you have Solus, you have Azami, you have Castle, you have so many tools at your disposal that you can use for a late round win condition. And so yeah, McGill might want to play passive because they have these many tools. They probably have more cover to play behind, but ultimately that's not how Lair works. You do need some mid-round powering. You do need to like battle out for map control. You can't just give it up so easy.
Also, with just a minute into the round here,
They left that soft.
I mean, it kind of works out, because if he really tries to do anything, he's just going to get wallbanged. So I understand what they're trying to do, but a breach charge or a sledgehammer is just going to get the job done here. They just have to be careful when he moves his body in front of the way. That's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, you got carried away with the swing. You'll go down. You'll be punished off and finished by Joyous. If I'm not mistaken, he'll be the captain for the night here. Keeping him up is essential, because he's one of the only bodies on site, and also your shot caller. Being able to get first blood allows you guys to slow things down continue to hold things out.
Yeah, it was a bit of an odd swing as well, because I think they just wanted to try and kill the only player on site and then maybe try and get a quick plant down because Borger was right behind him. At the moment, EKU seem to be a little bit stunted. It seems like they are taking map control elsewhere. I see a player in bathroom and in master office. So they are trying to take vert control. They aren't just sitting outside hoping for the castle to just overpeak.
Just approaching that minute mark, the rest of EKU is getting into position to be able to try to establish some form of grasp onto the site here. Lomo opening it up here for his team, being able to take care of a Squire, and we almost saw Kakea take care of another player here, but the Deimos got to escape the first time, isn't given that second chance at life as Jacob is going to be taken off the board. A one-man advantage here for McGill. Things are starting to shape up. All they have to do is keep this man advantage, continue to run out the clock here, and now start to rely on things like the Toxic Babes and the utility they have, but no, it's just going to be the guns here. Joyce finds the second of the round here, and it's just going to be Thermite who's going to be forced to use his gun before he tries to put this plant down.
There's really, like, no win condition here for EKU apart from the vert that they gathered from that late round map control, that from that late round aggressive push that they got. All they can hope for is that, like, Borger can get a plant down and Architect can cover him, but that's, like, a lot to ask for one player.
In the red time now, Borger, this is your only chance to do it right, but you're just gonna get shanked. 1 second left. Architect in the middle of the site here. No answers. Everyone's hiding from him. A beautiful way to run up that clock. McGill finally getting themselves on the board. Oh, EKU, what a round to lose.
Yeah, I think a really cool thing about that round for McGill is the fact that they didn't really give up as many bodies as they did in the first round. And I criticized how, like, they just kind of gave up map control very easily. In this sense, like, they kind of had enough bodies, or they had a good man count where they could give up map control. Like, they lost a player upstairs, and even though vert is like a very big win condition, what can you do with vert if it's a 2v4? Not really much of anything, because you really need to help your guy plant. That's the big win condition for the attackers on a Bunks briefing, is to get a plant down. And if you can't get a plant down because you don't have enough people helping you, then, I mean, that's a round win for McGill. There was no safe avenue to plant. EKU, they tried to do a smoke plant with the one player dropping down a hatch, but ultimately, like, that's not really good enough cover, and they didn't really seem to have enough intel in the 2v4 in order to find good picks. And you know what? Credits to McGill, because they didn't give them any easy picks in the 2v4.
Yeah, you saw how they started hiding when they denied that plant. They were also hiding when they got first pick. I mean, their ability to really set back, take a breather, and reset is admirable. But their main objective here is to be able to hold on to this patience, because it can start to go against you when you play against a team like EKU, where the snowball effect is kind of their win condition. I mean, once they get operators taken off the board, once they suffer the first blood, it's not like they'll slow down and go back to the drawing board. It's actually the opposite. They look to get 10 times more aggressive to be able to even it out here before that pressure starts to amount on them.
Yeah, like, Zombie starting out mezzanine is pretty cool. That means that you can use your Kibas in order to close off any of the holes that the attackers make on site. But, I mean, this is kind of a huge-ish gap. The fact that nobody's really in mask at the moment. First pick comes out. That's the ace down, actually, and I don't think they were able to use any Selmas. If they were, it was probably only on an operationals wall. They can't use it on a mask wall coming in from mezzanine. So that's a really huge pick for McGill in round 3.
Yeah, it's massive. I mean, that Black Mirror as well, it's a one-way, and the great thing about Ace Chaka is the portability that he brings. I mean, you don't have to risk your body. You don't have to get your body in danger when you're trying to place your hard breach down, opposed to the Thermite. He's going to have to get up close and personal to put his exothermic, whether it's the bottom right or the bottom left of this breach, but you're either going to have to smoke it off or force this Azami off of the front desk here, because if he gets carried away, if somebody swings, it's going to be a problem. But apparently not, as this is going to walk up to it, no fears at all, and the breach is going to be opened up with plenty of time for an execute.
Yeah, but you still have a bunch of win conditions here for EKU. You still have the smoke up, and you also have a Goyo can right on the mask wall. So if they get a plant down, if they try and attempt to plant, they probably won't get it down as easily. So now they recognize their win condition to get rid of this Azami behind the desk, because if she, like, detonates that Goyo can, you cannot get a plant down.
Amos managed to find a kill and is now just antagonizing the Azami. Somehow manages to live, but the flames, the smoke, they're all holding the attackers at bay here, while Azami is going to be that gun that's actually going to stay prescribed onto this breach here. Borgo going big with 2, looking to walk in. 9th, they got a kill, but after what? You guys didn't drone out the corner here. Architect able to get off the plant and save his life, while Burger gets the next kill. It's a massive round here for the man on Thermite. While Ninth is left by his lonesome to try to deny the plant here. He's taking care of the man who's watched across. Now Ninth has to be able to isolate the ones. Will be able to do so. Gets a triple. Lost most of his HP. Just 20 seconds left on the clock. Sin is going to have to either choose to try to close out this distance or grab the case and try to put it down. But it looks like the former is the only good idea here, as you don't have enough time to get that thing down with the amount of intel that's going up against you. You're going to run at it with your gun down. What a round for McGill as they'll grab that lead. What a valiant effort from EKU, but that Goyo is just better.
All of those engagements were just 1v1s, and EKU, a golden opportunity, a 3v1. I would say they had full mass control. They kind of did. You had somebody watching on the mask wall right behind the planter, and they seemingly had a good angle from him. I don't really know who to like put that on for EKU in the round, because again, it just felt like all of those gunfights were very individualistic. Maybe Sin could have been a little bit more closer up and more in sync with his teammates in mask, because if he swings as soon as the person who's watching the plant goes down, or watching over the planter goes down, there's a good opportunity that like McGill just doesn't, obviously he gets a refrag. It's hindsight, but ultimately I think McGill just kind of played into wasting time properly again, using the Goyo can on the mask wall, using the smokes over by storage or by our 6 room. Again, just wasting a bunch of time on the clock for EKU, who were kind of like forced to make some tough decisions. They had to deal with the player behind the desk and mask. They had to like rush a plant ultimately, even when they didn't necessarily clear the desk player almost immediately. McGill are forcing them into hard decisions still, even though that round was a 3v1.
We'll say, Chuck, I'm actually fairly impressed by McGill and their ability to get the rounds.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's stepping up to the task here. You're able to see players isolate, go for their ones, and be able to win them. Ninth went big with that clutch, and EKU allowed themselves to get isolated, but you have to give credit where credit is due. McGill are rising up to the task, but not like this.
Still setting up.
Caught off guard, reinforcing. Yes, they're too late to it. They're reinforcing too late. There's no util, there's no barb, no proxies, nothing to be able to recognize that they're trying to walk in from shooting range. And they made those holes themselves, meaning they've kind of created this problem, and they're going to be the ones to suffer. Jacob with one as well here, as that's all of verticality being opened up here. They have one more player to deal with, and if they can take care of it, Chaka, it's a 5v2 within a minute of the round.
Yeah, that's like really damning. I felt like Kai maybe could have backed off a little bit sooner, probably afraid that if he left, they would just got like full vert control, and then they would have allowed them to set up. But then that's why you power in the mid round. Good nitro cell though that takes out Jacob on the IQ. That means that now like you can't really figure out where these Valkyrie cameras are at, and I don't know if they're around the first floor, but if they are, EKU won't know about them.
4v3 here. I mean, great to be able to use that C4 on the IQ. The irony of that is hilarious, but the essential ability to be able to get yourself on the board here is going to be crucial for your late round stage here. Because of the amount of Candelas, because of the amount of utility verticality that's being built up against you, McGill are going to have to set themselves up for the best position possible, considering their win factor is only the Warden.
Yeah, like you don't really have a bunch of utility to waste time. Nitro Cell has already been used in the IQ to get 1 kill. You have full vert control and filtration. This sets you up for a really nice plant on default in labs.
Just a minute left. I feel like it's a common trend with McGill to just leave walls soft, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, as we see in this round. Now it's going to be dependent if Lomo can be able to walk in and isolate his ones here, but with that long angle being held in from Lab, I thought he was going to be denied access, but no! Lomo was able to walk in, isolate 1 and 2! Architect builds on that snowball effect, walks in from stock! Oh, McGill, where has it gone wrong? Picked apart one by one, and EKU tie it up.
Yeah, McGill opted to play a little bit further back. They can't really play infiltration anymore just because of how deep EKU are. And so with that, EKU just decides to take even more space. Like, they already needed stock control, because if you don't have stock control and you try and plant default in labs, they can deny your spot very easily just from the doorway. Even if you do have vert, like vert above stock is not really that great, so you can deny plant from there. but it's bonus points as well when Lomo goes to kill the players across from the site as well. So yeah, really nice aggressive play in the late round from EKU, though that round wasn't necessarily really won on the late round push. It was won in the early round when EKU got those 2 kills to take vert control within the first minute.
I mean, I'll be honest, in the pre-show or the pre-game, whatever you'd like to call it, I was a little doubtful of this matchup because when we compare the performance of EKU and Butler, grand finalists, compared to McGill and CCL, and the standings from FACEIT, EKU is currently first with 7 games played and 7-1, and I think, if we're not mistaken, McGill was 27th? So I didn't think we were going to see much of a game, but I have to give credit where credit is due. McGill's really stepping up to the task here. We're seeing the glimpses of the ability to play as a unit and force the mistakes from EKU, but still, those soft walls, the late setups, those need to be fixed if they want to be able to take layer. I mean, as we're trying to get into the game, looking to get this execute, they want to be able to take the R6 side and then funnel in from operational, and by being able to do that, display is up next here. Being able to isolate the ones, it's exactly what they wanted to happen, and it's pitch perfect. Logibomb and Line Scan are both going to go out at the same time here as they look to continue to build off of that pressure. I mean, we were talking about their ability to snowball, and it is evident in this round and the previous that all they want to do is snowball. Finally, we're going to see the Azami be able to build off of that as she's holding upstairs with 9th as well. They're looking to take their time and continue to hold these attackers at bay. Perfect use of verticality plus that man upstairs is going to take care of the blitz, but he's given a second chance at life. Eventually finished off. That's a double for the Azami. A triple as she's going big. You guys managed to find the refrags, but after what, everything you find is going to be doubled down by McGill here as they're able to find 1 and 2 and 3. And with just a minute 10 left on the clock here, it is McGill to have the upper hand. Borger needs to be able to recover this case here with Architect, but it's all about being able to get to it in a safe manner. Because of that verticality, because of those operators that were upstairs, you're gonna have to keep yourself on that back heel. Okay, it was upstairs alongside with that Warden, but since then, both, one has went underground and the other one has fallen back to the site here, and that's perfect in terms of time. With just a minute left on the clock, they managed to get those 2 kills, so while they're at that 30-second mark and they have to retrieve that case, they're gonna be pinched for time. They're not gonna be able to use their utility. Not there is any. There's no intel, and they're gonna have to be forced to execute upon their guns and their guns only. Burger, here's the obvious audio come on those green stairs, and Burger left by his lonesome to try to pick out these players and get what he can off the verticality. Approaching the red time, Burger looking to isolate the one here. Here's the man walk up, but can't quite pinpoint the location. Azami making herself known, on for the quad kill, but Burger's not even gonna let that KD go against him. Easy round for McGill, and they are really pushing for this to be their map and their series.
Apologies. My computer just decided to completely, like, crap on me. So I unfortunately did not get to see that round, because, like, mid-round, or before the round even started, my computer gave me, like, a blue screen. So sorry about this, you know.
Man, tech difficulties. What can you expect? I mean, at least it wasn't one of the in-games and we'd have to go to rehost and a break, and then we'd be done the game by 1 a.m. Eastern. So I'm happy you're back. Everyone's happy you're back. And a round for McGill is going to put them up right before the half.
Yeah. You know how I feel with them being 3-2 up? Because for, oh my gosh, for Lair especially, like, 4-2 is a normal half, but it's really good if you can get like 2 rounds on the attack, because obviously then you go on the favorite side of defense. If you get 3-3, then you start off even, and then you could potentially run away with it on your layer defenses, especially depending on if McGill know how to attack layer or not. Like, knowing how to defend a layer is one thing. Knowing how to attack it is a whole different beast. So we'll see what the switch looks like, but it's really nice to see that McGill are giving EKU some competition on their own map pick.
I am interested to see what happens after the switch at half, now that we have all of our bans in. Shield Ops and Deimos is the biggest condition on layer, especially with how your team plays, and it looks like McGill recognized that early and got rid of that trend. For EKU, they wanted to take care of one of the bigger win factors, which is that Goyo. It just makes it so easy to not have to swing and just rely on those little Volcan canisters.
Oh, yeah.
And it's good on both teams. But still, 2-3 for McGill. I mean, I will say EKU, when they go down on the half, if they're not winning 4-2, it does not look pretty for their ability to win. And they're going to have to change that narrative right here, right now, because starting off at BO3, losing the first series is just not a good look.
Oh, wow. That was a really nice power on the first floor from McGill to take care of a win condition there for EKU. The vert play, that's been very crucial in order to like apply some friction on the player that's usually behind the mask desk. And if you guys don't know how important a mask desk player is, just like how the stock player is really good for denying default play on labs, that's what the mask player can do too, provided the security behind the desk and provided there's no amount of pressure or utility to deal with them. So dealing with the buck early is really good, and it shows that McGill are adapting. The fact that they're doing these mid-round powers that they didn't do in the first couple of rounds, that's really good adjustments from them.
Loving what I'm seeing so far. Jacob going down first blood. It's going to be massive considering they don't have the Deimos. He's banned off. Now losing your soft breacher from below means they're going to have to rely on their ability to isolate directly onto the site. It's going to be a 1 or a 2-dimensional push here. We're getting that refrag onto Kaikea, both amazing. The player has been absolutely lethal on the refrag ability, and the Azami and the regenerative ability herself is just a problem that you're going to have to deal with here. EKU, their win factor is just having Lomo on the board. Able to get his refrags, able to win his ones here. He's been a crucial part of getting the 2 rounds, and hopefully the 3rd here as we approach the final minute of the round.
Yeah, EKU, they've been given some amount of map control and mezzanine, but they can't even get mask wall open because it's muted. They have nothing to clear new jammers, but Ninth gives away his life behind the desk. That's a huge power. That's a huge spot to get rid of, but it doesn't even really seem like EKU are executing mask.
Sees the barrel of the shotgun close range, cannot execute fast enough as Joyce is going to down out Lomo. He's broken his double digits record, but now he's going to rely on the rest of his team to be able to bring this home. A 3v1. Joyce leaning in the depths of mask here, C4 in hand. Can he get it closer to that case? Has he been located? The intel has to have been heard as he's shooting that drone out, but now they know where he's coming from. They know where they need to isolate from. All they need to do is sit close and keep that range. That's exactly what Sin's going to do, is he takes the head off the shoulders. And finally, EKU get themselves on the board as they approach a 3-3 split as they head on to the defense.
Yeah, EKU recognizing that, well, we can't really get mask wall open, so, you know, they got a kill on a desk player even, and yeah, that can give you a really good win condition for a mask plant, but ultimately that's not what they needed to go for. They couldn't get mask wall open, so they have to go through bathroom hallway. They have to go through the display room. That was really the only part of the map that EKU had to work with, and McGill just kind of seemed like they gave them the fights. It wasn't just the player behind mask desk. The player in server also gave a isolated gunfight when he was trying to get, when the R6 player was trying to refrag for him. He got killed because somebody from EKU was very much watching for that swing. So it felt like EKU just had a good read on the players' movements from McGill in that round. 3-3 is really good for EKU now going on to their defense. Just like I said, Lair is very defender-sided. So the fact that EKU got 3 attacks and they've tied up the half is huge for their defensive half.
Massive so far for McGill here, being able to take 3 rounds off of the powerhouse of EKU. Hopefully that was enough momentum to carry on to the attack, because you know how Lair usually plays out on the defensive. For EKU, it should be a walk in the park. This is their map. They know what they're doing. But honestly, with what we were seeing on defense for McGill, they were doing a little bit of surprise plays, and I feel like the element of surprise has actually been helping out with their ability to win rounds, like leaving certain walls soft. just wallbanging and getting easy kills off of it. I think if they continue to bring this interesting playstyle to the attack, they actually might be able to claim some rounds, although it's a large challenge, and it's going to be a large mountain that they're going to have to overcome here. But it's all dependent on how you start off, whether you break that deadlock, you're going to go up that round or go down.
Yeah, meta nowadays for like comp, for example, is like to just cheese and just play very fast and unexpected. And what better operator lineup to do that with than with a Blackbeard, Grim, and a Sins to like try and cheese, deny lines of sight, deny crossfires, and also have some form of aggression in your lineup. The fact that EKU, they got rid of both hard breach means that it's going to be really hard. It's going to be not impossible. You get Steph Habana, you have Mav. It's going to be harder to open up the walls really quickly just because Habana takes longer to detonate. But, you know, you have no hard breach now neither. So while EKU have these really good bans going for them, McGill also have the fact that they don't have any hard breach now to really worry about.
Also, a little surprising on how EKU's actually been playing tonight. They're playing at a LAN, Chaka, and their performance is next to none when it's playing at a LAN. They usually perform very, very well, but as of now, they're being challenged and they're just not really responding to that task yet. Burger being able to just walk in through operational, use a singular frag to burn Akiba, and Azami's position now being able to open up this breach with little to no denial, as you mentioned before. They can do so much here. And now the defenders are going to have to use utility like the Toxic Babes earlier on the round and sacrifice it and not be able to use their executions. But I don't know. Burger got carried away and got fried by Borger, and now it's just all systems go here as they're just going to walk on in. McGill actually managing to walk into display, get a kill, but an easy refrag, forcing the kit loose. I don't even think they know that, but still, it's crucial. The operator, his position, and what he was carrying is all so beneficial towards EKU, but for McGill, they're just walking on in, isolating, and it's working. For every kill they manage to find, they'll win another. They've walked in at 3 areas and established it. Now, Jacob being able to establish the desk and being able to isolate the ones, it's very, very identical to that first round where Ninth was able to do the same thing here. The only thing this time is the timer is in the favor of Joyous. You now have the amazing opportunity to either go for that plant or isolate the one. But with that bulletproof camera locating you, they know exactly what your approach is. They know you have the case now, and he's going to try to close out that distance before it's plant time.
Try and fake, throws out a flash to waste some time. Jacob is not really none the wiser. There is no camera for him. All he has is sound cues.
Checking the close corners, getting those fundamentals out the way before he looks to isolate the one here. Isn't going to go fully around. The audio would be too obvious here, so he's just going to assume that he's going to be parked out in the corner. The clock is counting down, and he's going to know exactly where he is. First pre-fire gets him to 1 HP. Second swing is going to confirm it. A triple for Jacob as he gets on that case, and EKU break the deadlock for the better as they'll go up 4-3.
Just a roller coaster of a round there from both teams. It started off with McGill getting operationals control, and then just based off of the mezzanine control, you have just a solo power through bathroom hall that was immediately refragged upon from EKU. Like, yeah, there were some isolated ones from EKU given up in that round, but like at least they've managed to like find consistent refrags throughout. So yeah, first round on the second half goes to EKU. And McGill, that was a valiant effort. It came down to a 1v1 when most teams would just kind of like have a really tough time attacking that top floor. They did find some unique gaps in bathroom hall.
Now, what is that, a 100% win rate on that upstairs when it's a 1vx? Two rounds where it's the same exact situation, and they're able to win and isolate the ones here, which speaks to the team's coordination to be able to, you know, help out with the executes or the plants, but still, it's playing to the better part of each team's resiliency to be able to build off of a negative aspect. You're down in bodies, you have no sight, you have nothing to rely on, no win conditions, and you still were able to come back out from behind and win. But still, we're starting to see how McGill wants to play. It's an aggressive play style, but EKU are just having none of it.
Yeah, also, like, I guess for EKU, they found themselves in some really tricky positions. Positions that kind of got them caught out a little bit, like the Jaeger on the mask wall, for example. He was pretty much exposed because of the way that the Habana holes were set up. So maybe if he doesn't play that quarter, that round becomes a little bit more convincing for an EKU, and the desk player doesn't have to like overcompensate to try and get a kill onto the player who initially killed his teammate. This is a full top floor roam from EKU, so their win condition is very clear. They want to waste time on the top floor for McGill.
Now, something stuck with me that I saw last round, and now I'm just realizing it. I mean, Jacob's just realizing Buck has a gun in his face, and that's first blood. And it's funny enough that we mentioned Jacob. He's a new pickup. I was realizing that we didn't know who the 5th was. It was supposed to be Moko, if I'm not mistaken, but he's not on the board here alongside with Arc, but there he is, his architect. So Moko is now not on the team of EKU, and he's going to have a sub. Ninth getting carried away, somehow wins that gunfight, looks away with siege timing and manages to pull out ahead. Taking care of that Valk and the Ella. You give yourself 2 bodies, but the triple roam finally gets them a kill on the board. Sin doubles down, evens it out as he gets a kill on that first floor, and somehow Burger's in the middle of the site. But the snowball effect from EKU is too great, and this is what we were talking about. McGill, you guys had a tie. You guys had everything you needed to set you up for a successful attack, but you've decided to get carried away and just go for all systems go on every round. Try to isolate when you don't have the win conditions in your favor, and you're going to pay the price for it. As the second round looks to go against McGill, EKU look to build up their momentum.
Oh, wow. I just saw landed right, landed right on Joyus's head, and that is a 4th.
Bye-bye.
Or no, not 4th, 5th round for EKU. Yeah, like, their Buck basically created a win condition for them. They dealt with both of the top 4 players. And by that point, I'm guessing what McGill tried to do was, because, like, I guess EKU did a full roam setup upstairs where they had 3 people upstairs just vying for a refrag on 1 guy. Maybe McGill wanted to try and establish themselves on the warehouse side of the map. That's why you saw them so far pushed up into toxin missiles and also, I believe, into lockers. And they were just trying to, like, I guess, isolate or cut off the players from EKU from rotating back to site, or isolate the players on basement. Either way, we won't know because they weren't really successful in that round with whatever they were trying to do in warehouse. But I don't really mind what they were trying to do. I've seen T1 teams even do that. So they're not at fault for, like, trying to, like, power through warehouse. Because you have a man advantage with a shield on the board. Like, that should have been maybe a lot more easier for McGill than it was harder for them.
You guys have one initial idea when you're attacking layer, and it's straight out of EKU's notebook, which is to really appeal to the utility side of things. I feel like that's the only idea left here for McGill, Chaka. They've tried 2 very fast-paced rounds, and they've gotten destroyed on both of them. They haven't been able to break the wall of the defense. I mean, beautiful in the earlier stages for Ninth as he was able to get 2 kills. That second kill was absurd of a flick, but still, you guys can't only rely on the kills. The utility went against you, and the divided attackers in the basement also went against you guys, and EKU are just able to pick you guys off one by one.
It's a peculiar drone over by the armory side of the map. Oh, just to cover a flank, which is fair. You also have Kai taking map control pretty early over by green. That'll be really good. They're just setting themselves early up in this round. Only 1 player on site here for EKU, which is normally the case for a Bunks briefing setup.
Clock ticking down here. First pick is imminent, and there it is. McGill opening it up yet again. Sin will go down. IGL able to start calling things out from that death screen. Could work out in his favor, or it couldn't, but with the amount of utility they have, yes, it's the Warden gone, but they can rely on the F-Knots, the lasers and the Toxic Babes, but Smoke has burnt through them like candy. Hello?
What?
Yet again, another funny name as Burger takes care of Burger. But still, what was the Blackbeard doing? The side door was right in front of you. You turned away from it. Your shield, your spear now gone. The attack is going to be a little bit more dull here with McGill just trying to find any form of access that they can, but they're just going to be picked off one by one as Jacob goes big on 2. The substitute, the new pickup, is just absolutely unstoppable. Picked up with Lomo on the second floor. They're picking apart the attack on the second. Meanwhile, the players on site are holding their own.
Yeah, just very odd round coming in from McGill Esports, and
wow.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna be totally honest, like they knew, they kind of looked like they knew that setup because they took green within like the first minute. EKU really had no idea that McGill were that far in the map. I guess like I don't know if they knew that there was a site player. Like there was only one site player, which is usually the case for a bunch briefing setup. Everybody upstairs, one person on site, and yeah, like they just didn't. I guess they just didn't really have good info in that round. Also, they didn't really open up the bunks wall, for example, too. So, Smoke in the middle of sight has a really good position to play around where he's not really being pressured anywhere else. He's not being pressured from yellow. From briefing. He's not being pressured from behind him on the bunks wall neither. There's really no pressure to the site player, really to the overall setup there for McGill from McGill on EKU.
Now, timeout being called. Excited to see what they're able to address. Sometimes I really wish that we have, listen-ins like T1, but then I realize we're not in Tier 1 and we're just collegiate casters. But still, I really wonder what there is to approach and what there is to address here because you have such a limited time to be able to address so many things going on. I mean, McGill, you guys could have addressed your pacing. You could have addressed your economics for utility. It was so many different things that we were seeing in the rounds that you guys have to just pick one thing and hope to God that it'll either turn around your rounds deficit or able to just isolate your ones. But for EKU, this also serves as a double timeout as they can communicate with a coach if there is one behind the mic today. So if they're refreshed, they should be able to just put a pin in it and head on over to border.
Yeah, defense has been looking like it's been king for EKU. Much the opposite for McGill, who are on the attack. They haven't really found any consistent success apart from their first 2 rounds where they got the opening pick. And then even in the second round where they got an opening pick and then a follow-up to make it a 5v3, they haven't had any conversions at all, really. So EKU's been able to claw back man disadvantages. That's been a really strong suit for them. And McGill kind of have had some issues in their mid-rounding.
Now, I hate to play devil's advocate here, but in the first or second round, you already heard me talking about border and how McGill could play. I mean, yes, I was drawing a conclusion, but as you can see, they really held their own for the defensive because, yes, it's a defender-sided map, but the second that pressure started to be applied, they're crumbling. And that's just because, Chaka, they struggle on macro maps. Border is not a big surprise to me. I thought it would either be a border pick or a skyscraper pick because of the confined distance, because of the amount of utility that isn't needed. I mean, yes, to a certain extent you're going to need utility, but it's not as much as a map like Layers, not as much as a map like Chalet. You guys have to be able to rely on your gunfights here, and I feel like that's the only thing McGill really has going for them, as they're going to be the first ones in the building within a minute almost every single time here as we see on their attacks.
Yeah, and I wonder if this is much like like Bliss serves as a distraction, smoke up as well to allow for the glass to make space. And that's the first kill. That's one of 2 Mez players, and the other one that has had to retreat. You could tell that EKU wanted to, from operationals.
Oh, wow, that was
yeah, like, you could tell that EKU wanted to have some sort of setup here to retain mezzanine control for as long as possible because the deployable shield is there. So, yeah, that's a really huge opening pick for McGill.
I would have expected a roamer below for EKU to play off of the C4 denial because they have Solus, they have Valk, but neither are going to be brought to the list here. There's no win condition. I mean, yes, you have the Toxic Babes, but we've seen Architect's ability to hold on to them. It was previously he went through all 3 within 90 seconds of the round. So now you're going to have to rely on his ability to conserve them alongside with no Goyo. They're going to be staring down the barrel of a very difficult defensive here, and with the Squire looking to line up and get in the building, it might be even worse.
Yeah, it looked like the Candelas were thrown out in order to pull, and now the Blitz is able to push. What?
I mean, they're all dying one by one. What did you expect? The flashes are flashing your own players. Esquire, it's so easy to isolate you. Those Candelas, those flashes went nowhere except for your own players. And that is a map win for EKU. What a round that is. I mean, Chaka, that was such a one-sided second half to a game. Wow, EKU uphold their LAN ability. They uphold to play as a team, and that is a beautiful way to head on to border.
Yeah, and at least 3 out of 3. Well, yeah, no, 2 out of 3 of those rounds. My apologies. Is the fact that like McGill had like the opening pick, and in one of those rounds they had a follow up too. So the fact that like I don't know for them, maybe it's just not identifying like a clear win condition, or just maybe the mid rounding being super messy. Either way, like EKU have been able to clean them up, regardless of the fact of them losing that opening pick. So congrats to them for winning Lair, a map that EKU and McGill barely play. And it's the defense where EKU prosper after tying it up on their attacking half.
Trying to see if I can get this up in time. I don't think I can, but still, I mean, the easy idea to be able to address Lair as a one-dimensional map just doesn't work out. As you saw from McGill, they thought pacing, aggression equals round wins and catching the other team on the back heel. While yes, this works to a certain extent, that's only to get your foot on the door. They were only getting the first kills, but when it came to materializing that first pick and using it to execute onto the site, getting your round wins, it just didn't happen. And we saw how much they really struggled, Chaka. I really hope that border is a different result, just because it's a micro map. It's only 2 floors. It's more confined, and it's going to be more challenging in terms of 1v1s. But for EKU, all they have to do is keep up their pacing, and I feel like it's going to be a quick 2-0.
Yeah. Also, I think too the fact that McGill kind of showed that they were like willing to be a little bit more passive on Lair, even when at times, again during the mid round where they could have like powered and just gotten like map control back, they weren't willing to do that. So I feel like if they're gonna play passive on Lair, are they gonna do the same on Border? Because you cannot do that. Border is too small of a map for you to be giving up any type of map control without contesting it or wasting time.
God, that team's secret game earlier is something I learned about playing passive on Border. But still, there's still an intermission standing in between us and that map. So make sure to top off your water, grab a snack, stick around because we will be fast, we will be quick, and we will be back after this intermission.
Got a lot of shine. Running up the number, that's a lot of crime. Try to take it from me, must be out your mind. Big time. Big time. Lot of shine. Smoky in the air, that's a lot. Try to take it from me. I got a lot of shine. I just wanna know what you got to shine. Try and take it from me. Take it from me.
It's okay, just it's okay.
After we thought Layer was going to be a very one-sided map, McGill really came out the gate swinging, showing us what they had in store. But all fantasy tales, all copium comes to an end eventually, and they learned that the hard way. If I'm not mistaken, it was a 7-3 victory for EKU, and now they'll head on to the home turf of the one and only McGill. Chalk, any thoughts?
I'm hopeful that because it's McGill's map pick, that we'll maybe have a game or a map that makes them like look like they're in control. Because I felt like throughout that whole series, EKU, even when they were a man down, were just like fully in control of that map. They looked totally confident. And going into Border, I hope McGill can exude that same confidence. They have a 4-1 record on it this year between Collegiate Season 10 and CCL. And EKU have no recorded results in this map. So I'm hoping that that is a good sign for things to come from McGill.
Now, if we can try to like extrapolate how EKU is going to perform on this map compared to their previous performances, on maps like Bank, Layer, and let's say Cafe, their biggest win condition is the snowball effect. And I cannot emphasize this enough. They are so adamant on being able to sandwich in the defenders when they're on the attacking. And when they're on defense, they're not too aggressive, but they are aggressive to the point where the attackers are going to have to worry about every door they're walking into, every angle that they're peeking, and making the other team uncomfortable. Now, playing on a micro map like Border to the confined areas, they're going to have to be more careful. And I'm very, very intrigued to see how they'll play it, because they're going to get the preferred side onto Border defense, but they're going to have to struggle against a team like McGill, where they have a 4-1 record so far in the year.
Yeah, and if we're going to take into account what we just saw from EKU on Lair, the fact that they are they starting defense first? Because there were two. No, okay, no. McGill are starting defense. EKU had a choice between picking attack and defense, so they picked attack, which is favored on Border.
They had a chance between picking defense and defense on Border.
Yeah, that was kind of wild. Oh, that kind of threw me off, because I was like, oh, I wonder what side EKU's starting on, and I see both defense. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I was gonna say they're starting defense, and then I saw McGill where.
All fingers pointed at Earthquake, everyone. All fingers pointed at Earthquake. No, I'm just kidding. It wouldn't be possible to have this stream without Earthquake or Just Trillo. Even if Just Trillo's observing is a bit questionable, it's still very, very, very hard to do all of this without those two. So W's in the chat for those who can't hear their voices but can appreciate what they do. First round, we're going to see McGill defend the first floor, actually, which I'm very, very refreshed to see. They're not going to get that second floor out the way, which is usually the preferred site here. Castle and Mira go against their bans, and hopefully we see them try something different, because they have the Azami. All you have to do is either keep verticality held down or just win your ones.
Yeah, and if you can't keep verticality like held down, what you can do is play into like late round win conditions on the first floor. You can play customs and inspections and like deny the hatch drop. You can still play bathroom and again deny like an execute coming in from archives, you can you can play in the hallway just outside of workshop and like have an angle directly on the window from into ventilation, for example. So there's plenty of win conditions to be had even if you don't have vert, but the key idea is to waste time on the top floor. You cannot give this up within the first couple of seconds, because if you do and they establish vert, you have nowhere to play on site.
Architect not going to let himself get spawn peeked. That'd be a little sad to see, but from McGill, we can't count that out because they are a very aggressive team. I mean, we saw how they played out on the attacking side of Layer. Might have not worked out, but Chuck, if it's going to work anywhere, it's going to be either on this map or Skyscraper. And I'm very optimistic for McGill being able to start out on the preferred side, which kind of also confuses me on EKU's process is their rationale, we're going to try to take the hardest side on this map first so we can set ourselves up for success on the defense? Maybe. But you guys are going to have to keep that margin as close as you can, otherwise you're going to struggle. And the beautiful teamwork, oh my god, look at that read from Architect, but it's short-lived as he's blown up to the other side of the map. It's an easy refrag within 10 seconds, and that's 2 bodies, but still, as the attack spearhead is dull, they've taken care of Burger, which is massive to the integrity of McGill's defense.
Yeah, that's their East Stairs player, and I'm surprised that Burger didn't really cut off his passport angle and instead decided to aggress on it fully. But I mean, his teammates able to activate off of that information. But for now, EKU, they get that East Stairs control. It's going to allow them to basically anaconda this whole top floor. And it seems like with that amount of pressure that EKU has built up, they didn't even really get into offices. McGill have just decided to fully drop off of second floor, and you still have a Nitro Cell to play behind. So there is a way to stop Vert from being so effective against you. But the fact they've just given up the top floor so soon is kind of troubling.
Not just, running on down here. Well, EKU are back to the drawing board, clearing the fundamentals to be able to address what's next. What can you do to be able to get into the site or try to put that bomb down here? The time is running out against them. With just a minute left, this map is smaller, yes, but on a site like Ventilation, there are so many easy angles for the defenders to hide out and try to deny this plant, and it doesn't help that now the bodies are against you, and McGill have absolutely no incentive to swing out. All they're going to do is just camp out the corners and waste out your precious seconds.
Yeah, EKU, they don't have a dedicated vert ops. They're just wasting their time, like, making all of this vert right now. The fact that their win condition here, their obvious goal was to get top floor control, and not a single Buck, Sledge, or Ram is in the lineup, and they're all available here on Border. So, yeah, a little bit troubling. EKU cannot go for a ventilation execute. They're gonna go for their bathrooms.
It's more important that they go for the ones. Chalk got Joyous with a really interesting smoke grenade. He threw it right at that chassis with no one there. It looks like they're going to be approaching from that main lobby. The hatch is going to be what they're going to need to keep controlled here. They're going to manage to spring into action on site, but you guys don't have intel on the verticality part. The plan's going to go down, easily denied from above. As it's a beautiful team effort from McGill to be able to get themselves on the board for the first round.
Yeah, even though EKU decided, like, they had that win condition in a verticality, McGill had pretty good win conditions around the first forward. They killed the first person to try and establish map control and, like, ventilations. That's not where the diffuser ended up initially there for EKU, because they wanted to see if they could, like, establish, like, control within the site, and they couldn't, because, again, the first floor win conditions around, like, the supply corridor, for example, is able to easily stop the ventilation plant. And EKU still didn't really have vert set up completely all over the site, so you still have a ton of space to play with if you're McGill. Yeah, it didn't really seem like EKU had, like, an obvious win condition in that round, or they didn't really know where they wanted to end up. And when they couldn't end up ventilation, they tried to go workshop, and that didn't really work out too well. McGill ended up with the very first round here on Border, and a really good start for them.
Now going up to the usually preferred site on Border, they're going to be not too heavy on the execution and the win cons, which again is kind of confusing because if you had brought Smoke, you would have Smoke and Goyo. You would have had the perfect duo, but no. And that's something McGill actually hasn't been doing. They really haven't been bringing those win cons since the first 2 rounds on Layer, so I'm interested to see how they're going to deal with the full pressure of Ying, the Rotero charges, and all of that passive utility, such as the flashes and the smokes, when there's not a Warden on the board.
Yeah, they're gonna be playing Smoke actually not as like a late round win condition, but rather as a time waste operator on East stairs. You want to waste as much time as possible on East. If you can walk away with a pick here with somebody playing off your triple wall, that's really good.
Oh, I mean, I don't think we've seen a smoke grenade being used within the last 30 seconds of the round, both on border and layer. And while, yes, you're taking off essential seconds of the clock, it's kind of an issue when you're not using the operator for his traditional use, because without that Goyo Chaka, we're talking about how essential it is to keep this site locked down. There is no utility denying this plant, while Joyce can get a beautiful refrag. I don't know how he was allowed to swing onto Catwalk with the double cross being held out from East, but still, this success is a small win. Step by step, they're able to get themselves back in the game, and it'll be a 4-all man count.
He got that kill because they didn't really fully establish vert control, so he's able just to aggress on Catwalk. And
Isn't there a man below?
Yeah, no, that he killed the Nomad below, but he was aggressing on Catwalk. They did not establish East stairs control
Lord.
by the time that happened. But I mean, now they do. So I mean, they did kill Smoke, so that's really good. And they didn't allow him to waste as much time. He only got to use one smoke grenade.
Was looking promising for EKU, or do you call them EKU neon lights? No one knows, but still, this clock running down, they have to be able to win their next gunfight. If you guys go down on the man count trying to get this bomb down, it is just not going to be a good time. As Architect, with a beautiful pre-fire into the man prone into Fountain, he's now found a gap, he's created one to be able to execute upon. The next player to take care of is this Jaeger. You see how aggressive he gets into 90. You see how aggressive he's trying to get to be able to get his team back into it. Even when they were on a leveled man count, he was still trying to swing out here. And he's going to be the bane of the existence as he will down out Architect here. But these Candela Senton loose for some reason. Sin is still not acting on it. And with 30 seconds left, Chaka, they need to be able to do something to be able to get themselves in the site.
Yeah, Candelas were sent out in order to allow the EKU players to pick one another up. But in that moment, Ninth decides to power into Fountain and gets a double.
I told you he would have been crucial to the late round stages, and I mean, being able to sit out in a corner and just play your time is just beautiful here. He was aggressing onto 90, then in Armory, and then able to run across without being shot through the cross and prone into Fountain, taking his late teammate's position, capitalizing. That positioning is beautiful, and it's very, very worth to get that second round on the board.
Yeah, and I think a really big issue in that round for EKU was the fact that they couldn't get Archives Wall open. Because they couldn't get Archives Wall open, they can't, like, obviously the Mute has a very safe position to play behind. He can play right on the door, he can play right on the reinforcement with the shotgun. I mean, hell, he could have had, like, some head holes on the pipes wall even to create a crossfire between him and the Found play, because Border is all about crossfires. Either way, you could tell there was like a really big struggle for EKU to break through Fountain because they couldn't necessarily just open up Archives Wall and get rid of the Archives player. They were that afraid to just jump into like offices or into Archives in order to like to refrag the guy. And I think the Candelas were meant to like allow the Fountain players to at least try and aggress onto the Archives player. But because the Ash was down, I guess, I don't know, the Ash was probably like too afraid to push by himself, so he's picking his teammate up in order to like have somebody to push off with them. You can't jump in through window neither, because the moment you jump in, those footholds, they can be used to counter you almost immediately from lockers. So, man, it's just really tough there.
Oh no, oh my god, it's a zombie too!
And that's East,
I mean,
like why though?
If I had $1 for every time they gave up East control and a critical operator within the first 30 seconds, I'd have $3, because oh my god, Azami was the first to go on the first, now she's the first to go on the third, and Smoke was on the second. Come on. I mean, it seems like the team that gets the first pick, both on layer and border, is the team that usually ends up losing the round. We don't find substance. I mean, right now, EKU is playing border like a macro map. There is only 2 floors. You guys need to either get more aggressive or fully park the bus. There's no in the middle. There's no taking it easy sometimes and then fully putting yourself on the gas. Because if that happens, it's an easy read for McGill to be able to capitalize, and that's exactly what they've been doing for the last 2 rounds.
And now, okay, no. So Joyous was not going to retake the position up East stairs, and I mean, why would you at that point? EKU have like really good map control. You're just asking to die, and you don't really want to die in that situation. Aggressing on East is probably not what you want to do, and you still have top floor control. So really, aggressing up East stairs makes no sense. But they still get the kill on the smoke anyways, so you still lose that utility.
90 seconds left. Smoke and Azami as the first picks. Never thought those words would leave my mouth. But still, a 5v3 with plenty of time for EKU to execute. The only thing standing in their way right now is the Monty. He would have to unextend and crouch through this breach. But no. Squire, giving up this positioning, allows an easy take of that uppermost floor. And then from there, building on to the site here. The biggest win con is the bodies in this case. You need to be able to play the Aura barricades and the advantage of the bodies to be able to put that plant down and watch that cross successfully.
Yeah, biggest issue here for EKU is the fact they don't really have like a dedicated vert op yet again. And that means you can't really create vert on bathroom, but that doesn't really matter. You have Easter's control, they could just walk in and plant tellers.
Oh wow, they're just going for it. They're just going for it. No verticality needed. They're just gonna hit the go button. Architect getting 9th, Burger onto a Squire. And Kaikia is getting a flank just so late into the round. A 1v5. Just get a pick to be able to, dodge that flawless, but still, it is too late in this stage to be able to do anything. Giving away your positioning onto East. Burger hitting a frost mat, but Architect takes care of Kai. A flawless, despite a frost mat, clamping down on the man who put that bomb down, but still, beautiful round from EKU to be able to get themselves onto the score sheet. And a 1-2 is the round.
Yeah, unfortunately, like McGill haven't had much success holding down like Easters within the early portion of that round. And because they also lost the smoke, you have to just forfeit top floor control, and that's exactly what happened. It's not even just top floor control because EKU didn't win that round based off of vert. That obviously wasn't their win condition to set up vert over bathroom. So their win condition was to just get like Easter. I mean, they got it early. They get Easter's control. You can just turn that into a quick tellers execute. There's no footholds to stop you. The desk in front of the default plant spot right on the teller's wall also isn't blown completely open to allow the customs players to see right directly at the planter. So yeah, I mean, EKU, they just had a really good start in that round by taking out both of the best operators to hold down Easters. And it's no surprise with how easily they've dealt with both the Azami and the Smoke. They don't ban out either one. They ban out the Mute instead.
Honestly, I feel like that's a step in the right direction. But it is a little bit of a disrespectful move towards McGill because they have the lead, despite not being able to utilize these operators correctly. EKU is essentially saying, we don't care about your utility denial because your win cons aren't used correctly, and they would be right. Yes, you have the lead, but your ability to use these operators isn't supposed to be something that is optional. You use a zombie to restructure areas of the map to play in your favor. You use smoke to deny the plant, to deny areas, and seeing 3 toxic babes burn in the first 30 seconds or a first blood onto the smoke is just a problem because these operators have regenerative abilities. They have beautiful toxic babes to get the job done, but we're just not utilizing them.
It's also like the way that they're also playing the Azami too. Like Azami is a very good time waste operator on Easters just because you can block off so many angles. If your whole point is to like be really aggressive and just take openings on catwalk without setting down any Kibas to like help you get any favorable angles on, then it just kind of like defeats the purpose of her being brought in the first place.
God, I hope they can change up their ability to use this Azami because with the way they're looking to approach this clear onto verticality, a minute in and it's beautiful so far. Armory has fallen. Everything on the right-hand side of the map has fallen. The next objective is to take care of a Squire here, and I don't think EKU is a team to count out the essential angles because they know of that hatch drop. Architect gets the easiest kill of his life because the Squire is debating whether he should drop or take the one, but he's capitalized before it's too late. Burger gets it right back in blood. I have to give credit where credit is due. The refrag ability from these guys is amazing, but the ability to play off the intel, the default camera was literally live pinging the Ash. And Architect gets carried away after his 2 kills. They'll finally be able to reel it back in. But your spear has taken care of the Azami and the man on the flank. Disastrous for McGill. But they get the best case scenario. And hopefully for them, EKU make the mistakes they need to be able to establish a 3-1 lead.
And again, there's like no way of like forcing out vert here, and I think that's really important for workshop and ventilations. And the reason why is because you can make vert above bathroom, you can make vert above workshop too. That can immediately dislodge this isolated player of the smoke on the site. So now they have to overcompensate and get map control around this first floor.
It's just pick for pick. It's something that is very, very admirable in this series. Ward able to walk out of customs alive, beats me how. Hitting 2-3 little 360s as he runs out of there. And, you know, magical for me, but still a 2v2. And these attackers have to look for the next avenue to hit, and it looks like it's going to be the full systems go into the server side of things. It'll be Burger to isolate. Sin gets his kill onto Kaikea. Joy's trying to walk through the smoke to isolate. No intel, but the flash connects. The endless spray of a hipfire doesn't work out. And who would have thought? The shield operator's the one to find the last 2 kills.
Yeah, just very chaotic in the last couple of seconds for EKU, because I'm gonna be totally honest, they had really no real advantage in that whole entire round. McGill had good win conditions set around the first floor, at least good mid-round or late round win conditions around their first floor positions, like in the way that they were setting up around customs and also supply room. You have really no safe plan, also because again, you don't have vert necessarily being made above workshop. Smoke has a really good late round position to play in that round too, to deny or to like waste time on a ventilation Windows execute. The fact that like the second player right behind the blitz is able to refrag onto one of the customs player, and I mean they just give the warden runs away and gives up customs control, that frees up a really good plant spot inside of workshop that EKU are able to capitalize on.
I also want to mention something that happened earlier in the day. So usually before my cast, if I know the other teams or if I know their captains, I'll reach out and ask them questions just regarding their overall approach to the game. So I know and I'm familiar with EKU and other players, so I reached out. I got draked. Straight up, I got no response. And then from McGill's side, they responded, but not in the fashion I would have expected. With a 1 to 27th seeding, I would have thought that they would be more eager to talk about their strats, but they weren't, which, again, is admirable in its own way. When I asked them if they were going to do anything differently, if they were going to VOD review EKU, they said, and I quote, "Not yet, we're watching the Munich Major right now." So, again, it kind of puts into play what the teams are really putting on the line here and how serious they're really taking this. But the fact that it's this close for a round that I expected to go in McGill's favor, EKU are doing very well on the attacking side.
Yeah, considering that they started off this game 0-2 and the fact that they've been able to bring it back. And I mean, that last round was like really difficult to bounce back from because I didn't really identify any good win conditions from EKU despite them getting like the second floor control, and the fact that they were able to bring that back is crazy. They bring Azami again, which is interesting. They're not playing her E-stairs.
I think Architect's the one who's broken the code on this map. Previously, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Sin.
Yeah.
But right now, he's learned that McGill loves late rounds. They love being able to isolate each and every one. Instead of making it a 5v5, McGill likes to make it 5 individual players that they take out one by one. But for EKU, if they get their face in the building as fast as they can and they realize every angle they go for is unchecked, their ability to get first picks is almost 100%. But their ability to get refragged is even higher. So that is a double-edged sword, but I mean, being able to take care of the Azami and the smoke, oh my god! Within the first minute and 15 seconds, EKU have the upper hand for the 40th time!
They just have to be very cautious of Joyous, and they know he's here. That okay, they've killed him as well. So where's your late round win condition? Because you no longer have that. Smoke is gone. Your vert player, your player that was down below is gone. You only have a nitro cell on Esquire, and you have no heart breacher now. So this means that EKU this round they can at least get archives while open, something that they could not do in the first.
Nobody's alive. What do you do in this situation? A 4v2 with a player like Architect on the board. He's just gonna get aggressive. You feed him a string. He's gonna take everything he can find. He's gonna take every gap that he can find, and you're gonna continue to learn this the hard way. It was evident on later, but with just a different player. What made you think it was going to change? A smaller map we thought was going to go in McGill's favor. We thought it was going to be an underdog story, but EKU, after suffering 2-round losses in the opening rounds, have managed to pull on ahead and are approaching a 4-2 split if everything goes according to plan.
Yeah. You know what? To be fair, and like the opening pick has been contested well between both teams, but like you mentioned earlier, there's something about these opening picks for EKU where you just like are able to snowball immediately off of that. And I think it's important to note, like, at least in that last round, it was very obvious that the fact that they killed not only Azami, who was in security, so that gives you straight up security control, and that puts the Easters player in direct danger. You also didn't follow up on the Easters player, which was the Smoke. The Smoke was playing Easters and not the Azami. And while McGill are good at like refragging back, what positions are you going to be able to play that EKU just are not going to understand or react quick enough whenever you power on them in the mid round? There's really not a lot. Border's such a small map. So yeah, like they just won that round within like the first couple of seconds. Again, like that's they're no stranger to just doing that. Like, it's crazy.
You know what? Even if McGill loses this round, if their Smoke is last alive, I'm happy. I don't think I've ever seen the WinCon operators first picked this much ever in any series I've ever casted. It's so essential, especially on a map like this where everything is so confined, everything is compressed, and you guys are still throwing it out the window. There's so many things that need to be addressed here. Defense is supposed to be heavily preferred, but EKU are making miracles happen, and right now McGill are the ones that need to be able to bring it back.
Yeah, it's the fact that for Smoke, you can not use him as a late round win condition on Border. You can use him as a way to waste time on places like Easters, for example. That's what he's most popular for, but you know, we're not really seeing that happening. There's really no time waste with any of these operators. First pick does go in favor of EKU, so they're really encroaching on this top floor now.
Architect was the one to break double digits, the first in the server last round. This time, he's just having fun. Entry successful, I think, what, 5 out of 6 times at this point?
Yeah.
Not 5 out of 6. Just in total, 5 out of 6. Yeah, he's only been denied once. Even when he's taken out, the impact that he's left is so vast on the other team that there's nothing to be able to come back from, and McGill are just shooting strays, grasping at straws to be able to try to bring it back here. You're able to take care of the Heartbeater before he's able to use anything, but Ninth goes down to 1 HP, and that's going to be crucial for the later stages of the round.
Yeah, I mean, getting rid of the ace is not that big of a deal. Again, EKU don't really have any vert ops, but they do have a super shorty and something that they've been using to make vert very popularly for second floor. They also have breaching charges too, so you can make vert around like the site and kind of make it very uncomfortable to sit in places like workshop. But in a back room, that's a place where McGill can play actually in order to like deny these like a late round execute. They can also play anywhere around this first floor.
Any comeback starts somewhere, and McGill only being down around, I'm optimistic because we saw on layer, they have glimpses of hope. They are a powerful team, but they have to learn how to play together and preserve the Smoke. He's standing in the middle of a soft barricade, and I mean, what did you expect to happen? Hello! Architect, finding his second of the round, gets his third! Oh, Architect, the man you are on that R4C, absolutely unstoppable as he wants to go for his 20 bomb. Sin eating heavy damage. He's the case carrier, but as it eventually subsides, takes some damage off that barbed wire. Verticality, not an option here as Kaike and Esquire are looking to try to go for it, but that bomb is going down a ways away as Blitz has 4 flashes parked out in a corner here. It's just going to be a bloodbath to be able to try to fight out here as Architect is on for an ace. Esquire, 100 HP in a dream as your location is known. Architect takes you down to 1 HP. They're all circling like sharks, and you'll be finished out by Sin.
It's kind of rooting for Architect to get the ace there, but not able to. And even and it's like that's not, he's not even like phased about not getting the ace. The win is more important to him, and he's just been the win condition for EKU, where there's space to be made, where EKU may be struggling to figure out where do we want to end up, what space can we get. Architect is like, hold on, I can run in and make the space for you. And he's just been electric. It's not even just in like the opening picks, his follow-ups too. And aim has looked so crisp for EKU's favor. And I'm scared for McGill now going on to these attacks, because EKU, I mean, it's not even just the fact, the fact that Architect is shooting back, but it's also like, if he's shooting back and if he's doing good at that, that's going to be really threatening on border, where again, you hope that the defense can play more aggressive on this map than they do on others.
I feel like with that comeback, they've won 4 straight. If there's ever a moment where you get aggressive, it is now. And I feel like we're about to see McGill learn this the hard way. I don't mean to sound like a negative Nancy, but losing your Smoke and Azami as the first pick multiple times in a game is the Siege equivalent of nails to a chalkboard. You need these operators. They're crucial to your defensive integrity. Being able to isolate your ones just doesn't work when you don't have these operators, and we saw them being used as time wasting instead of ones that are used on site. Be able to hold players outside of said site. Now McGill down 4-2. We've seen EKU come back out from behind. Let's see if McGill can do the same on the second half of the game.
Also,
Why does he break the barricades?
and Warden. So I mean, very interesting. And I don't see anything in the lineup that reacts based off of that Warden pick. Like, there's no Ying, there's no Glass or anything like that. Which, if you have a Glass with no Warden in the lineup, I feel like that's free space that you can like create using the smoke grenades. Because who's gonna chalice smoke with no Warden glasses?
What was that saying? Who you challenge?
Chow,
That's
like short for challenge. Some people say that.
Who you challenge is how Architect is feeling. He's currently 14-4 in the server, Chaka. That man is insane.
Yeah.
You've let him heat up, and he is not stopping anytime soon. McGill, I mean, I expected it. In all fairness, I expected it to be a large margin with the performance of both teams in recent history. But it's more disappointing, I feel, when you see a team show promise, but they just cannot find that last piece of the puzzle to be able to solve the win factors. That is the most disappointing thing. I would rather see a team get completely blown out than see them struggle to find that last moment, that last factor to be able to get themselves on the board as a winner for a map. And it's just McGill to be able to fall short to unlock the key piece of the puzzle, which is, if you're smoking a zombie alive. Never thought I'd have to say that.
And at the moment, I mean, nobody from EKU is giving up their lives. They also aren't playing on these stairs, for example. Yavazami up. It's probably not part of their setup. So I wonder, what is the late round here? Because you have Echo on the board. Oh.
Well.
Okay.
Well,
They
bye-bye
have
days.
Voting East. My bad.
I mean, at least they managed to find a refrag and then another refrag because they're in the middle of the site and the plant's going down. Hello? We approach the 1 minute mark. Kaikai gets a kill, gets a second, and is going to continue to tear it up within the site here. Don't ask me what gap was found. I think they just created one. They said we couldn't find anything, so we're just going to walk on in and isolate, and it's going to work out here. A post-plant scenario with 6 bodies. Only 2 for EKU as they're forced to isolate. Architect, who else to find that first? Kaikai is in very critical condition. They just need to be able to play as a unit and isolate. That's exactly what they're going to do, as Kaikai has just parked out in a corner. Joyce to fall next. It's Lomo as he looks to try to keep his deficit high for McGill, but it looks like they are passionate about closing it out to just 1. That's exactly what they'll do, as Armory falls very fast for EKU.
And I know in that lineup, yeah, like EKU didn't really have a dedicated East Stairs player set up, but I don't even think they had like a dedicated CC player set up. And the reason why I'm highlighting that is because it seemed like the gap that they found was just in lockers when they killed the dedicated site anchor, which was the Kaid, in lockers. And I mean, because you don't have a CC player, what does the CC player do in that situation? You have footholds to allow you to hold a crossfire between himself and the lockers player. Because there's no dedicated CC player and the locker player is dead, who's going to stop the entry into lockers? I guess nobody. They just get immediate site control off of that one pick on the Kai. So yeah, the setup there. The reason why I highlighted E-Stays in the first place was because I thought like the initial setup was like really weird. It seemed like EKU weren't really holding much like map control anyways, and it seemed like that was like super duper easy, way too easy for McGill to win.
I mean, very interesting towards the EKU defensive, because if you don't have Architect getting all in your face, maybe it is easier to find the rounds, and I feel like that's more of a easier said than done thing, because he's currently at a 3 KD, but I'm very intrigued to see how they, oh my god.
Oh,
Bye-bye to Ace, I guess. I'm speechless at this point, because we're not even 20 seconds in. We're not even 20
the
seconds
fact that it's like Azami getting the opening pick and it's not her getting opening pick is kind of like weird too, because like you don't normally see the Azami, well sometimes you do see the Azami really aggressive on these stairs, but this is really interesting, the fact that they just take supply room. And if you look at that setup there from EKU, they've reinforced the right side of the wall with, oh wait, no, this isn't the site that I thought it was. Either way, they get customs control very easily. Don't worry about it. Brain fart.
You know what? At least you're still with us, and the PC doesn't crash. That's all I'm happy about.
I don't wish it crashed in that moment.
I hope it crashes for me at this moment, because how are they allowed this far? Where is the cross from Ventilation Workshop? No, because he's planting. Hello, Burger? There you go. C4 goes loose. C4 doesn't kill him.
Oh my
there you
God.
go. Lomo delivering that final blow. That was a little too close for my liking. The plant denied. Case left loose in the middle of sight. Joyous getting on the board. But after what? You've lost everybody. Spearhead, Monty, Hard Breach, no one is alive. And with the case being down, there is no incentive for EKU to swing. Sit in a corner and play the bodies. And good luck getting close to a man with a slug shotgun. Good luck getting to 2 people with buckshots, as they are just going to look to run this clock out.
It's a different take as well from McGill. You don't normally see just a custom-centered attack with your post plant being centered, or what your plant being centered around a post plant. In customs, the fact that like they just went for it, and I think the smokes kind of like screwed them up, because again, the issue with just going from customs is the fact that you have like no Easter's control. So you try and plant in a smoke, EKU have decent positions to stop you from planting. They not only have a ton of nitro cells, but because you smoked off Eastairs, they could like try and kill your planter from like the courtyard windows. So really there's no advantage in that round for McGill.
Oh my god, they 3-2-1 on defense.
They're so
just
funny, man.
Just so why and how that round played out the way it should have. Everything, I'm not going to credit one team to doing something perfect, because EKU, in hindsight, won the round. But the fact is, Monty was in the middle of the waiting room that connects into site very quickly. And no cross being watched in from server is an issue, as they learned that the hard way. But luckily for them, being able to get the first kill onto Squire and being able to come back onto the site, Azami supported that C4, and a 2-way cross onto that planter was the best case scenario. And even then, they were 1 millisecond off of going into a post plant.
I will say, this game is actually challenging what I normally think of Border. And I mean that in like a good way.
Oh.
So, okay. See, you call me the pessimist. I'm trying to be positive.
Yeah, we're grasping at straws here. Let's be honest.
Okay,
you are the pessimist. Let's be honest. Of this duo, I am the uppity happy one, and you are the happy one. Yeah, you are happy, but you're more of a pessimist than happy at the same time. I'm
That's
never really
true.
negative.
We're not negative.
But
we're
not. We're usually not negative, but I'm being negative right now because we've seen some interesting rounds. Let's be honest.
No,
we'd be lying to ourselves if we had said that this has been perfect Siege. But again, that's why I love this game. There's so many imperfections that make it the game that it is. Teams are challenged to bring their own creative approach to their attacks and defense, but somehow, in some way, every approach that we've seen on Border has been wrong. Whether it's first picks against or for, we've seen both teams make mistakes, and that is why it is not a one-sided scoreboard. But for EKU to be able to pull on ahead from an 0-2 deficit, to be 1 round shy away from the match point, they have so much going in their favor. In McGill, after calling a timeout, have not been able to find anything so far.
Yeah, I'm actually not too sure where Limo died at.